Welcome to the Atlantico podcast, where we talk about the science behind the Atlantico project, the Atlantic Ocean, and the human adventures experienced along the way. Here, we have conversations with guests from around the world who work together so that we can better understand, manage, and protect the ocean. So let's embark on the journey of Atlantico and discover the world that lies above and beneath the surface of the beautiful Atlantic Ocean. Welcome back to the podcast, and today we have another episode dedicated to Mission Microbiomes, which is one of Atlantico's flagship expedition and was led by the Tara Ocean Foundation. Our guest today is Jean-François Ghiglione, and we are discussing the importance of studying the Gambia River and how it can help us better understand the ocean microbiome and the ecosystem that it evolves in. But first, let's meet our guest. Jeff, hi and welcome to the Atlantico podcast. It is a pleasure to chat with you today.
Hi, Louise, and hi, everybody. It's also a great pleasure for me to participate to this Atlantico podcast.
Excellent. And as we do in each episode, we'd like to get to know you. So can you tell us about you? Share with us how and where your connection with the ocean started, how it evolved, and also share with us a little bit about your journey and how it has led you to where you are today.
Actually, I'm in my office today, and I'm lucky enough to come every day with my bicycle just along the sea, And every day I remind myself how lucky am I to be in the small city of Banyuls-sur-Mer. It's in the south of France. So it's very close to the Mediterranean Sea. And I was born close to the Mediterranean Sea. So she combined my childhood and when I was spending hours snorkeling when I was young. And like in the movie, I don't know if you know The Big Blue, which inspired my passion for the sea and for the Big Blue, actually. I did my scholarship at the prestigious Sorbonne University in Paris, and that was nice, but very far from the sea.
Yeah.
So, but at that time, there was ambassador dolphin called Dolphy, who stayed in the Bay of Banyuls for 7 months. And this is how I came to Banyuls. So every weekend, I was taking the train from Paris to Banyuls to swim with the dolphin. That was really a dream that came true for me, So this Mediterranean Sea is great with a lot of splendors, but it's also in danger. And there's a lot of human impact on the Mediterranean Sea, like fishing, transport, like industries, etc. And this is why I decided to move to ecotoxicology. So I decided to spend most of my effort in being part of saving the splendor of our planet, I was motivated by bringing the new knowledge on the ecosystem functioning, as we do in academic researches, but also working on applied researches. So I wanted everything. I wanted to work not only in my laboratory, but spending time on the field. And I wanted to be close to the society and to the industries. That was impossible. But actually, that was really ambitious. And I would say now, because I'm getting old, I did it. Especially now with the theme of plastic debris pollution. I've made several stuff in the last year. I have co-founded a company that is called Plastic at Sea to make a link between the academic research and the companies to test the biodegradability and the toxicity of plastic at sea. And I have also co-founded a network in France called Polymer and Ocean. And it's bring together 250 academic scientists specialized in chemistry, biology, physics, sociology, etc. It's really academic researchers working together. And in parallel, I've co-founded a network of business college, including big companies such as L'Oréal, Chanel, Haribo, Carrefour. And the idea is to work together with scientists with this polymer ocean network to find solutions to plastic pollution. And we are trying, for example, to reduce useless plastic, mainly packaging in this company, and see how much recycling can be done inside the company themselves. So we have built also a citizen science initiative. In French, it's Plastic à la loupe. So it's plastic through a magnifying glass, which bring together 400 classes every year, which means the sensibilization of 12,000 students every year in France. We are going on in the fields for increasing a database on plastic debris pollution. So researches in plastic pollution is really in the middle of societal, industrial, and environmental concern. And education is an important part of finding solution, So it was really a challenge. And finally, I'm so happy I managed to work in all this field together.
Yeah, I think you have actually managed your big ambition of working in all fields with all stakeholders and making the link between science, society, and policymakers, the industry, everybody. So, wow, congratulations.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
So I mentioned at the beginning of our episodes that today we're talking about the Gambia River and about how studying it can help us better understand the microbiome in the ocean and here in the Atlantic Ocean. You boarded the boat, so Tara, in Banjul in Gambia, and sampled the river for about a week. So can you tell us a little bit about that region and what scientific questions you were trying to address there while sampling?
In 2021, we published a paper in the review Science where we described a new mathematical model that explained how important is the input of microplastic from the river to the sea. So such results are really important, but it's not enough. We need more data in the field to be sure that the mathematical estimation that we do are aligned with what we can see in the field. And we realize that even if we are talking a lot about plastic pollution in the media and everywhere, the scientific data are not enough today, and especially in the river. Most of the work on plastic pollution has been done in the ocean, but less in the river, despite the fact that 80% of plastic going to the sea is coming from the land. So we have to know better in the river. So I was very honored to be the coordinator of the previous Tara expedition in 2019, just before the Atlantic mission in Tara. And we focused our attention on the source of the pollution in the river. Yeah. And we targeted 9 of the main European rivers. And we concluded that all the rivers were polluted by plastic, and most of the plastic arriving at sea is already in the form of microplastic, the small pieces of plastic that have less than 5 millimeter size. And during our European Atlantic Road project, we have sampled the Atlantic Ocean at sea, but also several rivers, including the Amazon rivers in Brazil and several rivers in the other side of the Atlantic in Africa. Yeah. So as you mentioned, I had the chance to be on board Tara for sampling in the Gambia River, and we had several questions actually there. So the first one was, how different is the plastic pollution in the African rivers compared to the European seas, for example, and the European rivers? The second one was, how does the organisms that are attached to the plastic varies from the rivers, from zero salinity to the saline marine waters. Yeah. It's transported by the plastic because they are living on the plastic, and they are transported from the zero salinity to the sea. And is there some pathogenic organisms moving from the river, from the wastewater treatment plant, for example, to the sea? Is there some function that are transported by the microplastic from one environment to another, and how the organisms resist to such changes? And the last question was how much the microorganisms living on plastic interact with the microbiome in the surrounding waters. You have this entire mission looking at the microbiome in the surrounding waters, but we were really interested by their interaction with plastic because there are always interaction everywhere. So linking the ocean microbiomes to plastic microbiome, that was my part in the Atlantico project. Yeah. And this is the plastic microbiome, we call it the plastisphere. And we already demonstrated that the plastisphere is very different from the ocean microbiome. But is it true in river? This we don't know yet. So that was the main question also.
That sounds really interesting. And I can't wait to hear about the results when you get them. But we're not there yet. So I want to know how this was studied. So the question really is, what did you have to do? And importantly, how is this going to help us improve how we understand the ocean, its health, and how it will or might evolve over time?
Yes, actually, we did a lot of work in the Gambia River, as everywhere. I mean, this microbiome expedition was really crazy. The number of stuff that was done in this boat, I'm really amazed. But finally, we did. So we went from the sea in a place called Banjul at the estuary to a city called Kahur. Maybe my African accent is not good, but okay. I say Kahur, and let's say it's true or not.
I'll believe you.
And this is something like 150 kilometers from Banjul. So we have to move a lot in this river to go from the saline water until no salinity, water. And the idea was to sample in 5 stations: at sea, at the estuary, at the intermediate salinity water, and we decided to sample below and above a big city, which was Kaur. And that was the sampling strategy that we already developed in Europe in my previous expedition. So we sampled the first 3 stations on board Tara, but we had to go on a Zodiac for full days to get the sample in the zero salinity around the city. Actually, that was amazing. That was really beautiful. The river was lined with mangroves, with a lot of birds, with some good encounters with monkeys. It was really, wow. Oh, so nice,
Changes from the usual. I hear a lot of, we saw the whales and the dolphins, but this time you saw the monkeys.
Exactly. That was really amazing. But when we arrived close to the cities, the river banks were covered by plastic debris. So we expected this. We have seen some picture, but when you are there, wow, it really makes the difference. So the plastic pollution actually was very located around the cities. It was much less diverse than in Europe, for example. We have used a European scientific protocol called OSPAR to characterize the different items one by one that we found in the riverbank and the beaches. And there was much more clothes and fishing nets, for example, but there was not as much single-use plastic or plastic packaging as we found in Europe. So it's really completely different pollution that we found there. So this is what we found in the riverbanks, but we also sample in the river and at sea to characterize the concentration and the composition of microplastic. And we used Manta nets that are nets with 300 micron mesh size that we leave for 20 minutes in the river. And it allowed us to collect the microplastic in the water. And we found actually that was also different from Europe. We found very few microplastic compared to the European rivers, which suggests that these were less polluted than in European river. So it's really located to big cities, but after in the mangrove, we didn't find any plastic. So finally, for the sampling, we sampled the waters all along the river to compare the microbial life on plastic to the microbiome living in the water. This will need a lot of work with DNA sequencing to better understand the interaction between the microorganism living in the plastic and the microorganism living in the water, how much they are connected, including the pathogens, organisms that can be transported by microplastic from the river to the sea. So this is more or less what we did there.
Yeah, so amazing to hear already things that you found out, how different the pollution is from Europe to Africa. Good to hear that they have a lot less single-use plastics than we do. Maybe we should, go there and take that as an example.
Yeah, that's for sure. We're using too much of that, yeah.
And if we move to something slightly different, so each of the scientific studies in the expedition was dedicated to a woman involved with the ocean, and in this case it was dedicated to Isabelle Autissier, not a scientist, but someone very important in the sailing world. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about her and her contributions to supporting the place of women in the sailing world.
So Isabelle Autissier, she has been chosen because she is a French navigator, a sailor. And she is the first woman to have completed the solo circumnavigation. I don't know, I'm not sure in English if it's like this, but she completed the solo circumnavigation of the globe, during a competition. It was 20 years ago, I think, something like that. So she is really famous as a navigator, but she is also graduated with an agricultural engineering degree. And I know that she carried out researches on crustacean fishes in fisheries on behalf of Ifremer in France. Wow. So she was teaching also at the Maritime and Aquaculture School of La Rochelle. So she is really a person that is in the field, but also a little bit in the research. And she's also a writer. That girl is really amazing. And she is very committed to environmental causes. She is honorary president of WWF France. Wow. So she's really involved in the committees for environmental causes. And I was lucky enough to make different media events and a roundtable with her. And I'm always amazed by her knowledge and her commitment to environmental causes, and always with softness, but also firmness. And not because she's a woman, involved with the ocean, but because she's a human who always follow our conviction.
Nice. And as always, we'll put the links in the show notes to her profile so that people can have a look and discover more. And actually, this is going to be my final question for you today to finish our conversation. If we go back to your experience on board of Tara, I mean, you've been on Tara many times before. As you said, you led the previous expedition. But if we go back to this time specifically, what was it like for you? What kind of memories you've brought back from that region? You talked about the monkeys, but also from the people you shared the adventure with.
Yeah, that's almost 10 years already that I'm embarking, on board Tara. And this boat is really special because of its history, the amazing expedition that Tara did all around the world. So it's really an honor every time I'm going there. And it's always a great honor to be part of the scientific team. But what is very special with Tara, actually, it's not the monkey and the sea and etc. I mean, that's really important. But the crew, they welcome dozens of people on board. And they take care of each person who come on board. And all adventurers, that cross around the world and who have traveled and not always in easy conditions,
Nope.
So I always admire their humble, calm, always benevolent character. And they put an atmosphere on board where there is no separation between the scientists on one side and the crew in the other. I mean, if you know Tara, it's not the case at all. They do everything to make you feel like a part of the Tara family, and that is very valuable. Every time I'm really amazed at that. And this was also the case in Gambia, but every time, I just wanted to focus on this because it's so important for me. Everything becomes simple, even if we are working a lot on board and to get all this set of parameters because they know the sea. We are studying sea in our laboratories. Another aspect on Tara is the fact that artists are also present on board. Yeah. And it also completely changes our vision of our work and open up other way of seeing what we're doing. In Gambia, in particular, I was the reference scientist on board and I had to deal with a lot of parameters, a lot of stuff. And I had to see the chief of every town we go, it was really nice. But what I remember from this is, again, the crew. They were so professional that it went really easy, smoothly, and we finally did more work than expected. So my best experience on board is more human experience. And I would like to thank the crew and the organizer, Daniele Ludicone and Stéphane Pesan, that organized this amazing expedition. Every time it's really nice, but the way they organized all of this was really make the stuff really easy. So thank them.
Yeah, we have to thank for that expedition. We have to thank so many people, whether they were at sea or on land. But I was lucky enough to go on board of Tara and I can just echo what you're saying. The crew on board is amazing. They are so welcoming and they just make the experience so special. So I can relate to that and just agree that.
But you will have lovely monkeys too.
Yeah, I would have loved to see the monkeys. I did see the whales and the dolphins, but for sure I would have loved to see the monkeys. Maybe next time, who knows? So, Jeff, I have to thank you, actually. This is the end of our conversation today. It's been really interesting. And I think it would be really good if we can speak again once you get more results about all the work that has been done on the different rivers. It would be interesting to talk about the results that you get, so the types of plastics, the plastisphere, so that life on the plastic and the interaction with the environment. I think that would be a good follow-up episode, maybe in a couple of years' time. Who knows?
Yeah, scientific time is really long. Thank you very much, Louise.
We hope that you've enjoyed today's episode and look forward to seeing you next time. You can follow the Atlantico project on our website on www.atlantico.eu, and you can also find us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. All the links and information on the project and on today's episode is in the show notes. Atlantico is a project funded under Horizon 2020, a European Union research and innovation programme.